Greetings, nerds. This is Cena Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing this Monday evening?
Yeah, emphasis on Monday evening, as next week we will be talking on Tuesday.
That's right. That's right. We'll be shifting due to Paradise dropping this, I guess, first 3 episodes, but I know we're only going to cover the first episode next week, and then we'll do a big block of Paradise the following week.
Did you go back and see if they dropped the first 2 or 3 episodes during the first season?
If I recall, they did drop the first, I want to say 2 or 3, and then and I have to go. Yeah, they did. But I think it worked out well for us because we, by the time we recorded, we had a little bit of lag time. So I think we covered. I have to go back and let's look at our.
I'm pretty sure we doubled. We definitely left the pilot episode alone.
Yeah.
And then we didn't immediately do like 3 episodes. We did 2 episodes, and then the following week we did another 2 episodes. So but then One Piece is right around the corner as well, which we'll getting into someday off in the future. Part of 2026 we'll get around to Daredevil Born Again, but there's some other priorities in the mix along with breaks. So but I had as I was telling you during the pre-show conversation, I had a very snowy and stuck in house all day weekend. So that's why I'm doing a little check-in on what I've been watching, because I was able to spend the time this weekend getting caught up on The Pit.
Oh yes, I've been wondering. Yes, I've been wondering about that. I've been asked someone. I was talking to someone today about The Pit, and I thought, that reminded me to do a check-in with you to see how season 2 is going. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's all right. I like my binges. And now it was a 3-episode binge, but I just was like, well, I want the next episode. It's such a ongoing race, but at the same time, knowing how intense it gets, I'm glad it's. I did 2 episodes and then got caught up on 2, so I've been in and out, and it's the same. It is pretty much the same that you would expect season 2 of this Pit coming off of season 1.
Okay.
So it's just fascinating how I can still stay interested even though we're just going 1 hour at a time. So I got caught up on that. Tell Me Lies season 3 wraps up tonight technically, but I'll be watching the finale tomorrow. And for those who have watched Tell Me Lies, I think that this season retrospectively will be fascinating. But while I'm trudging through it, I have gotten so frustrated with Lucy. But they've managed to make a very unsympathetic individual, like main character, into a tragic one. And I like what they're doing with Bree this season, and Wrigley in particular. So I think they're making some good choices. I don't know what the future holds for this show. I don't like this idea that season 3 is it's the end all. Because if that was the case, we should have received way more flash forwards. Looking back, I think there were 2 flash forwards to the wedding.
Okay.
And I like how you're responding as if you have any.
I'm just like I'm listening along. I have not watched a single minute of this show, so
we've had 2 flash forwards. So I think that building up to this season, if this was the last season, we should have spent way more in where these characters are in the present as opposed to where they've been in the past. Predominantly we've spent most of this season, if not all of this season, in the past. So I think that there's going to be a season 4. And I want a season 4 too. What else have I been watching? Oh, reality TV. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a spoiler alert. I have it on my, I'm going to make this happen this year. So I am trying to watch as many different Bravo franchises as possible. So for example, I know that I will be watching Real Housewives of Rhode Island when it comes out in April.
Didn't one of them get fired for like some stupid Bad Bunny comments, or am I thinking about another reality TV show?
No, you're right, but well, you're talking about a housewife who was on Real Housewives of New York, Jill Zarin.
Okay.
She was on it for like 5-6 years, maybe. I don't know. I tuned out after like the first few seasons, but she hasn't been on it in like a decade.
Okay.
So anyway, and this is why I was kind of on the fence about bringing this up, because I knew, but anyway, so yeah, I am gonna be watching Rhode Island. They're not doing New York this year. New York has, and this has nothing to do with Jill Zarin, honestly. It's about other issues. But I'm looking for Atlanta because I've gone back. I think for those who do watch reality TV shows, now this is a new one that I jumped on board back in September, and I was skeptical, but yeah, I'm gonna jump on board when I find out one of the housewives went to jail, another one just got arrested for fraud. Ooh. So I'm gonna jump on board to Potomac and see what it's all about. When I started season 10, I went back and I watched season 9.
Okay.
And they just aired a few weeks ago. They just aired the finale, and we just started the reunion. If you love reality TV shows, do yourself a favor. Take it from me. Season 10 of Potomac is one of the best seasons of specifically Housewives. Okay. I think in general, the finale is one of the best, not finales, but just girls' trips that have ever occurred on this show, because it is a freaking disaster that, spoiler alert, ends in a gas station. I kid you not. It ends with them on the side of the road eating gas station food.
Real Housewives of Sheets. All right.
Oh my God. I have rewatched the finale so many times. I did a rewatch of the full season, and there are characters you love to hate. There are people you think you like, and then they do something real shady, and you're like, I don't know anymore about you. But they have figured out the cast of this year. And granted, I'm only comparing this to season 9. And I know Karen wasn't in this season because she was in jail, but she's out now and she's coming back. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamics next year. But I think if you want to expand your Housewives repertoire, Potomac is the way to go. Especially season 10, because they have figured out the cast.
Okay.
And that is just from a newbie, but I really like this cast chemistry. Beverly Hills Housewives needs a better cast. I love Rachel Zoe. Keep Rachel Zoe. And honestly, if you're gonna keep Amanda, you're gonna have to get her a friend, and it can't be Kyle, because nobody on that cast likes her. And honestly, them not liking her makes us as a viewer okay with also not liking her. so it's a hard one, because neither the cast members nor the viewers are able to necessarily redeem her. So I think the cast of Beverly Hills needs to switch up. We'll see what happens with Atlanta. I have gone back and watched the most recent season of Atlanta, so I will be watching the new one. And then the last thing that I started that I've never watched before in the Bravo world is Summer House. And they're on season 10.
Okay.
And I have not gone back and rewatched any of the former seasons. And after watching the first 3 episodes or 2 episodes, I don't think I'm going to go back and rewatch any of the previous seasons. I think I'm starting here and I'm just going to stay on track and see what happens. I might like it. I might stay. I don't know. I don't know about this show. I know, yeah, in case anybody was wondering, I have been watching the latest season of Vanderpump, and it is trash. It is trash. They did the casting horribly. I want like all of the guys. Well, Venus can stay. He's good because he I mean, it's Venus, okay? He's a guy's girl. Okay. But the other guys, there's no history. So this is the thing. If you have watched Vanderpump Rules, you know the beauty of that show was the fact that these people had at least 5 to 10 years of history with one another before the show even started.
Yeah.
So now it's blatantly obvious that most of these people have never even talked to one another before the show started. And if they had, you're maybe looking at 2-3 years.
Huh.
It's so obvious.
All right.
And some of them just started to be on the show working in STIR. And you're like, no, you can't do that, because that eliminates the beauty of watching a very toxic group of friends, because like we want to walk in on the toxicity, not just let these guys create. And one of them doesn't even work in STIR. And so please explain why he's on the cast, because and don't say, well, Shorts was never working at STIR. Did not matter. You want to know why? He was a longtime boyfriend and then eventually married to and then divorced from Katie. Okay. Katie's an OG. Katie's original cast member, all seasons. Okay. Yeah. Shorts is going to be a part. Oh yeah. And also he was practically, now they never tied the knot, but he was pretty much Tom Sandoval's like husband. Okay. they have a bar named Tom for a reason. Okay. You have all that history. And then there's the Jacks of it all. Like there were stories about those 3 in one apartment when they moved to LA. Like the history among the original OG cast is why that show lasted as long as it did. It's not the same. And some of the stuff that happens, it's not even funny. It's just like, that's kind of gross. I don't know. So anywho, that's just a catch up on a lot of the stuff that I've been watching other than Bridgerton season 4. I'm still waiting for it to come back with the final 4 episodes. So, yeah. Cool. So,
well, I know you haven't had a reality TV download in a minute. So, I'll let you go and fill us all in on the latest in Bravo.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the best idea or the worst idea for me to just get a subscription to Paramount Plus or Peacock.
Well, hey,
Peacock, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, well, look at it this way. Normally, well, maybe if it's a good thing, keeps you, variety as far as things you watch. Bad thing is just like, normally you would cut things off whenever a show you're watching, and you would just say, on the subscriptions for however, until the next thing you want to watch comes up on that particular streaming platform. But at the end of the day, it's all good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is enough of that. We are going to dive into Westeros now with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 1, Episode 5, In the Name of the Mother. Dunk's metal. I don't know why that word looks so weird to me.
Yeah.
Metal is put to the... That's spelt wrong, right?
You got it right. Continue.
Okay. No, I know I said it right, but is it spelled right?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, continue.
I have to look that up. Dunk's mettle is put to the test in the brutal trial of 7 years earlier. Dunk finds himself to the promise of a new future. Will, what did you think about this episode?
Yeah, so overall, I really, there's some TV shows that, we talk about this all the time here on the pod. Some things that stay with you, movies, music, whatever. And there's other things that like just immediately as it comes and goes, just right out of your head. So this one definitely left an impression on me in the sense that, I did read the novellas before watching this show because I really have gotten into the Game of Thrones lore. And so whenever we got to episode 5 and knowing, I kind of hinted last week about a particular situation with Baelor's armor, I knew what was coming. And so whenever we started the episode this week, I was excited about the trial of the 7 and just sort of seeing how things were going to unfold from seeing how they would take it from the page to the screen. So whenever whenever we got the great scene of Dunk and, and everything, the perspective from his eyes inside the helmet and then, gets knocked off and knocked out and they go to the flashback, I got to say, my initial impressions was I felt that it was like padding. Because I was, because again, my expectations were subverted, and so, but like I said, things either stay with you or they don't, and this one stayed with me, where I was just like, I just noodle on it, and then I was like, that actually, I was actually okay with what they did because it did provide some deeper context that in the medium that we're in television, you have to sometimes show and tell the story about a character to help you understand where they're coming from. And so when they did that, so after I thought about the change in direction and the change in direction that they did do, was original to the show. It really, I think it provided some additional context as far as understanding why Dunk, when we did get back to the fight, it definitely like added a deeper meaning to it than if it had just been just a straight, 20 minutes of fighting that it could have been if they just did not have that that flashback scene there in the middle. So at the end of the day, I really, really, really enjoyed this episode. And, and I felt like I did jump on Twitter last night afterwards and seeing all the reaction. And even though I didn't watch Game of Thrones when it was like on real time back in the teens, the timeline definitely reminded me of like, when I had the FOMO, whenever watching everybody else react to this TV show, I was like, oh yeah, that's the discourse is back. So this is sort of my kickoff thoughts on the episode.
So you thought it was during it, you thought the flashback was padding,
yeah,
and then retrospectively, you're like, actually, that worked really well.
Yeah.
So can you just elaborate a little bit more on what you said in regards to the flashback allowing like the final fight sequence or the flashback and what we learn about Dunk.
Yeah. So what we learn about Dunk is, so the episode's titled in the name of the mother. And so, we never, so we see these image, whenever, for example, whenever people get knighted, it's like in the name of the mother. Whenever we see the flashback where he is there in the, it's right after the first Blackfire rebellion, on the battlefield there, we're seeing the knight under his horse, and he's calling out for his mother, and and Dunk also, he doesn't know his mother, and the comments that he had with Raffi, and so we see, and as we go through Flea Bottom and seeing his, all the things that happen there, and that resilience, the seeing the tragedy, of his friend getting killed, him also getting beat up. I mean, it just basically showed how Dunk has had a very hard life, but he's also very resilient. And so the flashbacks really, and then also how he follows Sir Arlen, and it was so persistent. It really just showed it was showing on screen what were the motivations and what is the sort of fuller character of Dunk. And we've got elements of it throughout the season, but this was sort of like, instead of doing flashbacks throughout episodes 1 through 4, as far as his background, they made a creative choice to do it in the penultimate episode. And so I think doing it there, like I said, real time, because, I expected one thing and got something else. Shame on me. But at the same time, whenever I saw the impact of, like, when Egg says, "Get up, sir," and when Arlen says it, and then of course, and then Dunk gets up, and everything transpires pretty much like it does in the book. It really, really works. It really, really works for me.
So I think it's interesting because so for me, I took away a lot more about a theme of fortune.
Mm.
And so I guess I don't necessarily prescribe, as you do, to the resilience factor of Dunk. I think that through this flashback and counteracting this very pivotal moment in Dunk's life, we're seeing a lot of fortune, and that's why the namesake of this episode is so interesting, because in the name of the mother, there's a religious context to it.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the start of a battle between 7 on one side, 7 on the others, and it's life and death.
Mm-hmm.
And at the start of the episode, you also have Baylor talking about how, like, he's going to go after the Kingsguard because they technically have an oath preventing them from hurting him at all.
Yep.
His brother did not take that oath. And then you have the comment made by one of them who says, "Mother loved you best."
Yeah.
And that's not his mother. It's more about this God figure, which is also interesting in terms of Westeros, because we know a little bit about the Andals and the 7 and all of that significance. I mean, we're talking about the Battle of the 7 right now.
Yeah.
So then flashback to Dunk at a young age, who is very similar to who he is now. It's so amazing. And I'm not saying that, but let me finish my point here.
Yeah.
So in the flashback, so so he brings up his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting conversation because honestly, the way it's played, I could even be as foolish as Doug for saying, but he can't. If she is dead, why does he still think that she would return? So that makes me foolishly as a viewer be like, no, Rafe can't be right. Like, she's not dead. Do they not? Did she just leave? And them talking about the mother specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and this idea of if they know without a doubt, like, she is dead, then this whole idea, okay, well, he has in the back of her mind that she could pull a Jesus and return from the dead, right?
Right.
Like, there's a faith quality there. There's something about that conversation that I think is played a few different ways.
Oh yeah.
But honestly, I think it does it rightfully does. It puts us on Dunk's side, where it is a foolish idea to think that his mom could return. But for some reason, he believes that there's hope, and that hope, having that hope is what gets him through.
Yeah.
Well, no. Ironically, though, having that hope is what makes him stay. The only reason why he wants to go, and Rafe tells him in that scene, is because they love each other. Like Will toned it down when he was going through and called them friends. No. They were more than friends.
Well, I mean, I mean,
they definitely would have gotten married if she would have lived. But so again, with Fortune, and I feel like even though I know it was Rafe's fault at the end of the day for antagonizing that guard, who ultimately was going to come right back. I mean, she said it herself. Nobody forgets stuff here.
Nope.
He still viewed it as his fault for her death, because she could have gotten out of there sooner had he not held her back. I think that's the way we're supposed to interpret it. And that mirrors, of course, the ending with Baylor's death, where again, he's feeling like it's his. So there's a lot of, I think there's a very fascinating play on religion and fortune.
Yeah. Religion, fortune, I completely agree with you there. I think one thing you also hit that's very important too is Dunk always feeling with I guess it ties into the fortune, how bad fortune sometimes follows him.
Yeah. He would have never gotten into this mess had he not randomly stopped at this tavern and Egg was there.
Right. Yeah.
But ironically, Egg is a blessing and a curse.
He is.
Because he is the squire that he's always wanted, and yet he's a Targaryen and potential future king. So it's throughout what we're learning about Dunk through flashback and present day is, as you've said it, good, like with good comes bad fortune for Dunk. Nothing is just like, oh, it's just a great day after a great day. It's like, I mean, he finds in Sir Alan, he finds a mentor of sorts who but then again, it's Sir Alan who's walking around drunk and talking Dothraki all the time. So who takes also is very unaware of surroundings because the kid follows him for days.
Yeah.
So I agree with you though. It is interesting how this episode in particular, I was like you, where I was watching it and I'm like, and he gets knocked out and I'm like, oh, we're doing a flashback?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then I was kind of like, okay, well, we know Rafe's eventually gonna die, so like get him. And it didn't. But eventually when we get to the present, and specifically the final moment, the final scene, I did throughout today find myself thinking about that moment. And it wasn't like it was just, you know how sometimes I say, like, and I think this is what stuck, this, besides everything we just talked about with Fortune, the other big thing that stuck with me about this episode in particular, more so than any episode this season, whoever did the cinematography and the camera work, they're doing it for all the episodes, right? Because this episode in particular just stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Between that last shot with Baylor, and I'm not just talking about the head, but also just the backdrop, the lighting, and all of that. But there was also a moment at the beginning where they did a beautiful job of showing Dunk on this horse, scared shitless, throwing up, boys, fucking green boys.
Yep.
And you see Egg, and throughout this whole show, Will, we've been seeing this contrast of this very tall man and this very small boy. But more so than any scene, which is interesting because we know the truth about Egg now, and so does everyone else. And yet him in that moment when he's like on the field and they're exchanging their goodbyes, he has never looked more small.
Yeah.
And more egg-like.
Yeah.
So that stuck out. But the other thing that stuck out to me, what in terms of cinematography, was what they did with Flea Bottom. Because, and I kept thinking about this while I was dozing in and out of the flashback. I kept thinking about how it was fascinating because even as a young boy, he's tall.
Yeah.
Yet because of Flea Bottom and the way they shot, and the way, not just they shot, the set design was exquisite.
Yep.
You felt the confinement.
Yes.
You felt like they were literal rats in a maze. You felt like people were on top of people.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and then you felt also a smallness. Like Dunk's a tall boy, but he still felt so small in comparison to these buildings, and everything felt like narrow and intertwining, and it was just very interesting. And it stuck out because we start the show next to an oak tree. We start the show open land. So far we spent, like, there's an openness and a wander. You did not, and it's very sharp contrast to Flea Bottom, which I thought was brilliant.
I had the same thoughts about Flea Bottom too, because we've seen it in other iterations, other with House and all, and I agree with you that it really just felt that gritty underpinning of King's Landing and the city, and so I completely agree with you there. And also to your point about the space, and I think it was a brilliant choice to like zero in on Dunk's perspective during the fight, because this is Dunk's story that Dunk and Egg, but at least in that moment, instead of the grandiose big battle scenes like I remember seeing in House of the Dragon, we were really it started in from inside the helmet, and seeing things in that perspective. And then, of course, even during the fight, it's just very, very close quarters. And, it took I talked about earlier how, this is a period of peace in Westeros. So really the only way that a knight could like check his battlefield prowess or whatever is through the tournaments. You mentioned earlier, like, for example, Baylor telling people to get the longer lances because from a strategic standpoint, as far as just that way it won't be that very close quarters fighting, which of course it did devolve into that. Yep. especially whenever Dunk and Arian are going at it. And
can I just ask? I need this answer. Is Arian now Arian the Dickless?
No, I think it was his femoral artery. So it was because at first I was like, oh, it looked like he got castrated, but no, I think it was more just his femoral artery.
I was like, man, for as many shots to the head Dunk has taken, he still remembers that story Egg told him.
Yeah, but that's another thing too. Yeah, and that's another thing too. It's just like when Dunk does come through, and just I love the sound design there because with the whenever it's literally like getting your bell rung, and so. And just the sound of the high pitched whine, and just like I know I've playing ball back in the day. I remember getting my bell rung and just the disorientation there, and then of course just the fight. The shot that everybody that scene with as he stumbles up, and here's where I know you mentioned earlier that Balin was like, family don't hurt, but it was truly an accident that Makar like hit him with the mallet or whatever, not the mallet, the mace.
I'm sure, but I mean, we haven't got into the finale yet, so
I don't want to say anything more other than one of the things about the death that was also so tragic, and I hinted at it last week. Whenever we were talking about when Baylor was getting dressed. So the thing is, he didn't bring his armor to the tournament because he wasn't planning on participating.
Right.
So he actually had to end up using Prince Fowler, the other one of his sons. He had to use his armor. So, that's another tragic thing about this whole thing is if he had his properly fitted armor, he might have survived the headshots.
Yeah. I think which that's great, and thank you for explaining that because I definitely would not have understood that having not read the books. But to just go back to the fortune of it all, the moment, and for a moment, yes, he's disoriented, but he did win. He is on the verge of death, though. But Dunk has enough strength to even bow down and say, "I am your man," and then you get the line from the Baylor, "This kingdom needs good men," and then it's like, "R.I.P. Baylor." You ain't. So I have two things as we were talking about this section of it, of this story, or of this episode. Sorry. My first one goes back to Arian. Because this drove me crazy. Has anybody, have you seen anything about people making comparisons to Arian's armor, to some kind of creature? My go-to is Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. No. And I'm not saying this in a funny way. Like, I think his armor was actually very cool. I really do. But when it was fully on and he was moving around, I was just getting flashbacks of something. And like I said, I want to say Groot, but it could be something else. So listeners, if you know what I'm thinking, please let us know, because it's been driving me crazy for the last 24 hours. The other thing is egg. And I hope everyone's on the same page about this. But for me, my interpretation of Egg's desire for Dunk to get up is very, and this may be a bit mean and harsh, it's very selfish. Because at the end of the day, if Dunk loses and dies in that field, forever it'll be Egg's fault. And it'll be interesting for next week as I watch Egg also come to the realization that, again, not only Dunk wouldn't be in this position, but Baylor, probably his favorite uncle, would still be alive. So it's again, it's a very, but to circle back on that, succession. It is a thing, and I think as we go, the same fortune that befalls Dunk, a similar one will end up befalling Egg as well, where with good comes bad. And but I think I forgot to ask you this, but am I correct? I know Egg is the fourth son of Mailer. Is Mailer the fourth son of the current king?
So here's the family tree. So
I'm not going to remember names.
So Makar. So there's Darren, Arian, Aegon, and Aemon, as far as the Targaryens.
Yeah, that's Makers.
Makers. Yeah. Balon just had Valar. So
No, but Baelor's not the king, right?
He's the hand.
He's the hand, and he's the heir to the throne.
He will be the heir to the throne. So Baelor's
he's the oldest son. Is Makar the second oldest, or is Makar like I'm trying to figure out if there's a brother between the brothers.
So looking at the family tree, there's Baelor, Aerys, Rhaegal. I think there's a queens, and then Makar.
Yeah. I felt like I heard Makar is also like the fourth offspring too. So
So
your Targaryen math on that.
So Aegon basically, Egg has basically like no chance at the throne. Supposedly.
Yeah. Theoretically.
But to your point about succession, I mean, there's just so many levels of like, because of what happened here with the trial. I mean, like you said, to your point, I love how you said fortune, because I think that really does capture so much as far as what's going on in this story. And so why I guess for me, why it's so fascinating is because, to your point, fortune really does, good or bad, has played a very heavy hand in all the things that has happened up to this point. So I
don't know about you, but I know we're returning to Westeros next week.
Yes, we are.
You want to hop on over to wrap up Wonder Man?
Yeah, let's hop on over to Wonder Man. Because
Okay, Wonder Man. We have watched the final 4 episodes of season 1. Great season of television. Will, what did you think about the second half of the season?
Oh, so second half of this season, with Marvel shows, it's been one of those things on all the shows on Disney Plus where I feel like disappointment is more often the rule than the exception.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, this show just really just nailed it for me. Every episode, I just got more and more engaged and really, cared about these characters. I love the friendship between Simon and Trevor, and it really, one of the things that this that was a heavy influence to this show is the movie Midnight Cowboy. And in that movie, it was it was late '60s. Dustin Hoffman, John Voight, before he became weird, was there was a friendship and a business transaction between the two primary characters in that movie, and we saw that sort of those influences here in Wonder Man as well. I don't want to spoil. Spoiler. Well, I mean, hell, the movie was like back in the '60s, so the statute of limitations of spoilers over. Midnight Cowboy ends up in has a very tragic ending. Thankfully, Wonder Man does not, and I think, but the friendship and the brotherhood and the relationships there definitely resonated, and even the song that they use in Wonder Man comes from that movie. It was Everybody's Talking. And so I felt that was thinking of those lyrics in that song and some of the things that happen here as far as people talking and thinking about episode 5 in particular, where, when Simon finally does, uses his powers out in public when Trevor is like getting confronted by the gangster or Simon. Yeah. Well, Simon. Yeah, when Simon uses his powers, when Trevor was getting confronted, and then
I was Anyway,
go ahead. But whenever but then they were all worried about like the kid having to chase the kid down and stuff. It was just
that's his name.
Yeah. It was just like the few times they've had the superpowers in this show was just like, okay, it was to serve the story. It wasn't about the superpowers. It was really about the relationship between these two characters and how they, were trying to solve things, and how Trevor's conflict, as far as like he was really growing fond of Simon, but then he had this deal with the government, and he was like doing everything he could to like try to, not turn him in.
Yeah, this show is just so good.
Yeah.
It is so simple, yet it is just executed so well that it's hard not to like it and find joy between the acting, between the writing, and did I say the acting?
Yeah.
The chemistry between Yaya and Ben Kingsley, Sir Ben Kingsley, like, come on. And you know what? The one thing at the end, I think the candy guy, Esteban.
Yeah.
He should have randomly been there and been like, me too. The found footage was such a fun little excursion.
Yeah.
That at first I was like, what? And then it kept going, and I'm like, oh, we're on the sidewalk.
Yep.
We are again stuck with Yaya, who's a big guy in this car, who is trying to hunt down this other one, and the whole line. So does that mean you do or you do not have super speed?
Yep.
Point of clarification. But the best line, arguably, well, not from the show, but come on. This just was like so good. Is at the end of the episode when Patrick shows up at the house and he's got Jaden, and he's threatening to kill Jaden. And he tells Trevor and Simon on the other side of the door that, and Trevor's response is, "Please do."
Please do. Yep.
Like, come on. I'm with the head of the illegal candy ring gang.
Yep.
So I'm covered. We don't need Jaden. We don't need.
Yep.
we don't need him. and to just the brilliance is not just the comedy, but as I was watching these 4 episodes, the secret identity. And we have watched so many shows within this genre. And I'm going to admit something. Again, this may be a foolish viewer acting up again. But it took me until the callback episode to really realize, like, oh, like this is a very meta version of having a secret identity.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so, it's because I think this show works. So as long as you understand Simon is an actor.
Yep.
That's it. And you accept that. And you accept Simon's dream is to become a big actor. He ain't got no friends. He does have a few people he loves.
Yeah.
But they don't count. And now he has Trevor. Who, and then the Kathy Friedman episode where it's basically, okay, Simon, I love you and I love you two together. However, Trevor can't be a security blanket, okay? You gotta put on your big boy's pants, okay?
Yep.
You gotta be able to do stuff. I mean, how, like, when they're at the table with quote unquote the team.
Oh yeah.
They're just like, I thought this was a Simon only meeting. Nope, he's gonna always bring his +1. It's just the way everyone feels. But then there's acknowledgement by Simon because he is a character who is fully aware of his inadequacies. And he just says, if I don't bring you, and people meet me, they think I'm a dick.
Yeah.
And we see that a few times. Like, he can come off that way.
Oh, yeah. Thinking about,
Wholehearted.
Yeah. I mean, like whenever, speaking of the Kathy Friedman episode, whenever he was tracking, talking, just I thought was pretty funny, like because he thought he thought his brother was going to like sabotage him because again it's just because of that rivalry, and then whenever he finds out that she talked to his ex-girlfriend, and and they meet up, and then to your point about him being a dick, I mean so she so they're catching up, and then he just like launches into into the very thing she says to him, I think when she breaks up with him at the earlier, and just it's just like. Yeah, he just went on and on and on and on, and I loved as soon as I love the Severance reference, by the way, yeah, but then just to seeing how that scene played out, and just and to your point, it's just like, yeah, at the end of the day, he's not, it wasn't about, there were things that.
Well, what I liked about that scene was she knew the whole time.
Like,
and so. I think that they did a good job because I say that because I am one to get annoyed when the viewer knows more than the character.
Yeah.
For some reason, and maybe it's because this didn't feel like Simon main lead all the time. I mean, like I said 5 minutes ago, we have Trevor the safety blanket. So to me, this was a duo throughout the whole show. So it never felt like they were both holding back secrets from one another. But so by the time we do get the reveal, it's played in such or not when we get the reveal, when Simon gets the reveal that this person who has become arguably one of the most important people in his life, who he trusts without cause, who he finds a real friendship with, is the one who is betrayed him, while all of these other people he feels like he's been hiding himself from, his girlfriend, his brother, his mom. They are all like, yeah, we know, and we accept that. And even though we find other frustrations, like that has nothing to do with you being you.
Right.
So if you could just make a personality adjustment here and there.
Yeah.
So, and if you'd pay a few bills, I don't know.
Yeah, pay a few bills. Yeah. And I just,
so it's just, it hits, I think, so much harder that, like, okay, now I buy into this idea that, because there's a real emphasis throughout all these episodes leading up to this, that he's never had a friend before until Trevor. And so it was the ultimate betrayal, as long as you understand that, that was like the one friend in the world is true for this character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that whenever, because I like the way that they executed the betrayal. Because because the walls literally were closing in, and the Kathy Freeman episode really, like, because it all, and I like it definitely, because if you go with these things before, a lot of times, it's trying to hide, the hero's trying to hide a secret identity and doing all the, like, to your point, Simon was all worried that, his ex is going to, like, out him, or his brother was going to out him because he's jealous of him, and da 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 da. But at the end of the day, whenever Kathy was like, "Oh no, Simon, you're great," but Trevor, let's talk about you. And when that happened at the table, and I just loved how Ben Kingsley just did everything to try to just kick it a direction and divert the attention to other ways, and then they finally do have that moment in the room there, and and they have the true confessions, and just Simon going out and then again using his powers, but it wasn't to, like, solve a crime or anything. It was just we've seen, it was consistent with everything that we've seen in this show, which is it was because he's holding on to stuff and holding on to this secret, and then whenever he has
it's an emotional
moment, it just blows up.
Emotional
it's just outburst
that occurs. But it's also very clever how within these 4 episodes, Simon uses his powers only because or for Trevor.
Yep.
And I mean, from all the way from the 5th episode, like, he intervenes in the fight, which leads to a tape.
Yep.
And then we have the outburst at the studio.
Yep.
Blowing up literally the biggest role he's ever had.
Yeah.
And then you have the ending, which is him breaking Trevor out.
Yeah.
And it's also that it's also on the flip side, because they very subtly go about this trying to make us understand and fully get on board more with, like, it was always Trevor. It was never the Mandarin.
Yeah.
It was, and the Mandarin really is the role. Trevor is the real deal.
Yeah.
And I like I'm glad you brought up that conversation, because Kathy asked the best question that I still think, knock on wood, fingers crossed, if we get a season 2 ever, they could continue to explore. But she raises the question, like, actors carry, when you have a hard role, you hear actors talk about this, they carry it. It's hard to shake. It's depending on your process, depending on how into it you get, it's a hard thing to start to separate that identity from your own.
Yeah.
And we've seen that very subtly throughout this season with Trevor, which, to circle back to Simon, you have a guy with superpowers who wants to be an actor, but specifically has the opportunity to play a superhero.
Yep. The original. And they find the glasses.
Oh my,
Yeah.
yeah. And the flashback with the father, I thought was great.
Yeah.
I think this was a delight.
Oh, it totally was. Yeah.
We have needed this.
Yes.
Now, granted, I am much more higher on Marvel things than Will. But for some reason I did have it in my gut that this was going to be good, and that was like way before people started watching it.
Yeah, the trailers and the marketing, what little I did see, it did not do the show. It truly did not do the show justice at all. And maybe that's a good thing. I mean, we mentioned this last week. It is the Marvel Spotlight series,
the best spotlight they've ever done.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this because, I think all the things we've talked about this evening, really, it's about the characters. Yeah, it's set in it's set in a superhero world, but at the end of the day, that's not the focus.
It's not even like,
it's not even, yeah.
It is much more, and why it works, and why I hope it. The only way I want to see this character and Trevor again is to see them do Wonder Man 2.
Yeah.
Literally. I
agree with
don't want them to pop up in the Avengers. Nope. They don't belong there. Nope. They are actors.
Yep. They're actors. Speaking of which, can't let a review go without Joey Pants showing up again.
Oh, thank you. I was looking through my notes, and I'm like, there is some stuff like the recasting, the editing of watching that, and then the realization they recast Trevor with Joey. I was like, brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. And it doesn't matter. Never tell Trevor and never let him see a frame of that movie.
Nope.
And Joey Pants has to be in the sequel. I'm gonna say that. There was also we all want to understand, much like last week when I said I want to understand this exploding toilet thing, okay, on the set of The Rookie. I also want to know exactly what JGL did to those pigeons. I need background on that. I'm just going through the callback episode, the punch through the head.
Oh yes. Yeah, and the punch through the head. Yeah, that was also too another thing too is like I thought what was so brilliant about the callback episode, because whenever Simon did the scene from Pretty Woman, and it gets into again the mask, instead of just being authentic, and just tapping into what he feels, and because I think that was the direction that Vaughn the Vaughn. Yeah, I want you to, what you're feeling. And then, of course, he just goes to like, a well-known movie instead of just being true to himself. And in that moment, I was just thinking as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, here's Simon putting up another mask again.
But here's the thing, Will. Yeah. And what I thought was clever about that moment in particular, the episode before with found footage, as they're approaching the house to go steal the bike back, Simon brings up, okay, I had this role, and I remember a few lines, so we could do this. Like and I feel like even in the first 4 episodes there were some instances where his go-to has been a movie, a role, something he's either been in or seen and memorized. And that again reinforces this idea that is brought up with his conversation between his mom and Trevor, where he just delved into the fictional world and he had quote unquote friends there, so he wouldn't feel so lonely. Like his real life experiences are few and far between to actually tap into. And then what he could use, he's afraid to because of the secret. So I just, the intentionality of the script throughout all the episodes is just so good. And I think that's why, for a first time in a while, a majority of the comedy beats worked for me.
Yeah.
And then you have these great performances that are going to be completely overlooked. Shame on them.
Shame on them. Yeah.
But I'm glad I watched, and I want more, but I also say that with an asterisk. Don't give me more for the sake of giving me more.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
And don't suddenly come back with a season 2 and it's not a spotlight and it's an hour long. No, the pacing was perfect. Pacing was perfect. So I want more, but I want this is just enough. So you don't want to overindulge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. While looking through my my notes I took this time around, I think there was more quotable moments during the first half. But then again, there will never be a moment quite like, please go. Just, what, the kid's like 19? Just kill him. I don't trust him. I have a bad feeling about it. Oh my God. All right. Will, on that note, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will and Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at scene_n_nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.